Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to Incredible Life Creator Podcast. My guest today is Camille. Camille, a native Angeleno, attended the Lycee Francais at age 6 and went on to study art and fashion at the Paris American Academy and the Ecole des Beaux Arts in Paris, where she had a one-woman sellout show in Montmartre. I'm sorry for this. For my
Do you want me to help you
with
with?
the words here. The world of the French cabaret has continued to inspire her work. There's a sense of the collector and traveler in her work, having lived abroad for 5 years. From the Caribbean islands of Montserrat and Grenada to Paris and Bath, UK, she takes from the past to update it through her unique and quirky lens. A strong theme in her work is the iconic female form. For 10,000 years, we have been haunted and inspired by the dazzling mother goddess temptress, Angel. Her work is a synthesis of pop culture through a dreamlike state. Her technique is layered. It may start with the collaging of a blueprint and images to set the scene or create the impressions for the structure of the work. She experiments with various mediums to create altered states of texture such as sawdust, paint, medium, egg yolk, tea bags, paper, found objects. Presently, as she is living and painting in Happy Valley, Oregon, a bucolic town just outside of Portland with her young family. Welcome to the podcast, Camille.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and I'm sorry for all the mispronounced
That's
French
okay.
words.
That's okay.
That was just a tongue twister. Um, Anyways, just so people can get to know you, tell us about you, where you started out, and how you got to be doing what you're doing today.
Sure. Oh, it's fun to talk about. My mother was a painter when I was growing up, and she worked from home. She was an acupuncturist and a painter. So I remember back in the 80s, she would paint with spray cans a lot and would get leaves. She loved working with leaves and using them as a stencil and spraying over. So it's a lot of like found objects, kind of like I do. And I think that she was my first inspiration. And I think that having parents that were outside of the box, acupuncturists and hippies, they were very supportive of that, of my work. When we lived in England is when I feel that I probably first really got into my art. I just had this great teacher, and the way he would describe art and the way he would encourage our flow was he was really into it. He was really passionate. And then in high school, I think is when I really took off. When we came back to California in Riverside, I had a teacher that allowed me to paint in oils right away, and just sort of, taught me at age 14, 15 how to stretch canvas. So that level of professional style work, where it wasn't just like pen and paper or watercolor and paper or something, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it was just like this leap into the deep end of art and how to manipulate paint with with turpentine and these mediums. So I would spend a lot of my like lunch breaks just painting, and I just became super prolific then. And I still think that some of my best work was done then, because I didn't have other things to think about and work on, other responsibilities. So I got into it was called the CISA, Cal State Summer School of the Arts, through Cal Arts. And that was an amazing program to just meet all of these other talented artists in different fields, and won some awards and things like that. So that was kind of like a cool little, starting point. But my father always said that he didn't want me to just go to art school. He wanted me to have a well-rounded undergrad education. And his quote that I always laugh about was, didn't want me to only be able to speak about Andy Warhol at a dinner party. So I wanted that full like range of knowledge.
Mhm.
And so after high school, I went to UC Santa Cruz, and I studied art, and that was my major, that and fashion costuming. And so I had sort of a double major, spent a year abroad in Paris, and I had gone to the Lycée Francais when I was, super young. So I had this like French, and I could, get a little bit more immersed in the culture from speaking French. So I had a show in Montmartre, as you read, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful year, very supportive, and it really did influence a lot of my style. There's a lot of French antique work, or influence. So then I came back here and was apartment living, and I didn't have the space to paint. It's not like being able to pick up a guitar or watercolors for that matter. You really need, it's a smelly, messy project that you need a lot of space for, and it has to be, a separate room than like your bedroom kind of thing, or your dining room. Takes a long time for oil paint to dry. And so again, you have to have that special space. Well, when you're in your early 20s, it was just sort of like a studio apartment or one bedroom apartment. So I had to kind of put it away. And then once my husband and I bought a home and had children, I had the space again. And I was more or less stuck at home. They were sleeping all, throughout the day. So I would make use of their healthy nap schedules to paint. And I really feel that becoming pregnant and then having children sort of re-tapped into this root chakra energy of creation. And it helped just sort of create so many pieces and I have so much work just since my now 5.5-year-old was born. Even though we've moved from that home to another state, and I again had to kind of put it away for a little bit, but it'll always be there. It's my passion, and I'm just I'm grateful for not giving up on it, and I'm grateful for the fact that having children helped me sort of make both dreams come true.
Wonderful. So, just for people who aren't familiar with your art, describe kind of art you do.
So as you read, yes, it's very mixed media. I mean, sometimes I do just a purely painting. This painting behind me is all paint, right? But I like to do something where I collage in the painting. So I sometimes will sketch on paper and attach it to the painting. I have a way of adhering it so you don't see, ripples. This is a rhinestone necklace. Sometimes I'll have lace. I mentioned tea bags. These are blueprints, and I have a collection of vintage patterns. So sometimes you'll see like Vogue coming through. Here you have some writing over here. And I just love that play. I use a lot of wax and caustic medium. And I love the play of like lots of different mediums. Someone described this piece specifically as worlds within worlds. Like the more you look at it, the more you discover new areas and new things. And I want a piece that you can grow with,
Mm-hmm.
and you see over time. And it's that style that has been a natural organic evolution to the work that I'm doing now, where I'm working more one-on-one with my collectors and patrons to do something that's very personalized for them. And I'll tell you more about that.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about that. So,
If you wanna
I mean,
hear.
everyone wants something customized or something special just for them. I mean, even something as simple as I remember growing up just having a bracelet with my name on it. I
Yeah,
think that's so simple, but it's special to you, So,
exactly.
you know, talking about a piece that you make specifically for someone. So why don't you describe how you're doing that?
So it I've always done commissions in and out throughout, you know, my work and doing shows and things like that. But this is developed from a very murky, muddy place of it's kind of like that lotus coming out of the murky, muddy, swampy pond of the COVID negative energy and the frustration and the feelings of unknowns, and then as on a personal level, my realizing that my hormones were imbalanced and that I was really having these massive fluctuations that would turn me from this zen cool mom to really kind of anger rage, showing signs of anger and rage. And so uh, yeah, I did go down a negative, depressed, frustrated, angry place with COVID. And it wasn't me, and it was affecting everything in my life. And I knew that I had to have a 180. I'm a big believer in, like, you can be on a train and think that you are going this direction. And the more, you know, with anger and with negative energy, it propels itself, it keeps itself going, and you start to look and notice things that will continue to make you more angry. Whereas if you just shift and get off that train and wait for another one in the other direction, or get out of the station altogether and just start walking, so to speak, you just making these shifts. You know, for me, it was immediately like stopping drinking on a nightly basis, drinking that beautiful wine. For me, it was meditating, it was balancing my hormones, and it was visualizing, literally, when I was painting, where I wanted to go with my art and where I wanted to go in my life. And so then it was all of a sudden like, well, this is going to be the most meaningful part of my journey as an artist, is if I can be working with other people. So backing up a second, when COVID started, my husband lost his job the first week. The company was already kind of, you know, not doing well, and he lost his job. And I'm an artist with an online art gallery. And I thought, I can't let this ship sink. You know, I can't go down without a fight. So at that time, Jimmy Fallon was interviewing different celebrities, and they were talking about fundraisers and how to give back, and Feeding America was one of the fundraisers. So I got this idea in my head that I would contact Jimmy Fallon, which I did, and Ellen DeGeneres. They didn't respond. But I also decided to contact People magazine, because they're so big and they're, you know, they might like this story, and tell them that I was going to give a portion of the proceeds to Feeding America.
Mhm.
And because I'm all about the win-win-win. And really, this is a win-win-win-win, because it's helping my business, my art business, stay afloat, helping the artists involved whose pieces might sell.
Mhm.
Of course, giving back to Feeding America and to the most basic thing that we all need, to be fed.
Mhm.
And then fourth, you know, people are stuck at home. They're staring at the same walls and the same things. They have something new to look at. And I think it was from that mission. So people did write an article about it, and lots of photos and lots of press. And it was a really, really exciting moment. It was also picked up by the NBC News here in Portland, and they did a thing about it. And Video Zoom called me that, you know, that day, within an hour of contacting me. It was pretty surreal. So that was how it started. And now in my art, it's really come back full circle with this personalized mission. So my mission is to help others truly sense their nature and truly get back to where they are, and not so much outside of what the outside is happening, what's happening in the outside of their world, right? And how to feed and fuel their inner nature. So, and their love for themselves, because that is something that deteriorates the more we become adults. You know, the more we live, the longer we live, the self-love practice on a daily basis definitely deteriorates. So I thought, why not create pieces where I'm working face to face and collaborating with people on what would make them most happy? And so one of the ways that we're doing this, and I don't keep a really strong any boundaries or limitations on what can be done. Some people want to do a dedication to their mother or father or a person close in their lives. Some people, it's their past on the ranch, you know. But I want the way this kind of came to me was having elements of memories. So whether it was childhood memories or just great times in their life, and really focusing on what that looked like, what colors it was there texture, was there symbolism, was it something that they were eating, a sweet, was it, so having one of those elements and then another element, an image or a color or a feeling that was their ideal future that could help pull them along their path.
Mhm.
And so this whole concept is to help remind them of the self-love, to be visualizing um, the life that they wanted to have, rather than feeling victim to a pandemic that they had no control over, and that was going to be or has been making us all more fear-based, more angry, more frustrated, more upset. And that's the whole approach, you know.
Yeah, and that's beautiful because
Thank you.
most people would love to have a piece on their wall that, is personal to them
Mm,
and um, that also has their good memories in it. I mean, and
exactly.
every time you look at it, you're remembering that. It's almost
Exactly.
like a stimulation, like, oh, I feel that again. Let me look at that
Exactly.
again. I want to feel that good feeling again. I mean, whenever you want to feel good, you just look at that picture and it's just like a stimulus.
That's right. That's right. And, sometimes it's people are sending me their photos too. And they're like, and I'll say, do you want me to take a photo of this or a copy of this? And they're like, no, because it's just been stuck in a box. We so rarely develop photos anyway. So if they are just in a box or an old album that you haven't looked at in years, like get it up on your wall, in a painting, and immortalize it, or a piece of your, of a something that you wore as a baby or something like that, your mother, a scarf, something like that. And yeah, it's been really fun because it's ultimate creativity, and it's people love talking about those things, and just the conversation already starts helping raise their vibration. So I love it. It's really it's that much more fulfilling than just painting for myself, whatever I feel like as an artist, which is great. But this is a little bit, it's not selfless because I still get so much pleasure out of it. It's just this great collaboration, and I love every part of it. I like the conversation that we have, and it's beautiful. Yeah. And then I really get a better sense of my collector too. It's not just someone, that I don't really know who they are. So yeah.
Exactly. And once you do one piece for someone and after you have that conversation, I mean, that's a deep conversation. That's a
It is.
very personal, deep conversation. Then, they talk about in business knowing who is your avatar, knowing who your client is so that you can actually provide for them what they want. Well, when you go that deep with clients, you're going to know how to create even more pieces. You're going to know more what people want just by going
Yeah.
through that process.
Yes, more about their spirit animals and the colors they love. And it's so sweet, like men, women. It's just, I don't have any one type of, avatar right now, because once you let someone feel their heart again, and I mean, I want to develop more of I'm not a therapist, but I love to meditate and practice these different techniques. And so it's like anything that can help evoke and raise the vibration, no matter where someone is with their religious beliefs or spirituality. I'm not trying to change that for anyone, but all of it is vibration, right? And it's all energy, and it's all raising it to a level that can, that so that, and the awareness of what we're saying in our minds to ourselves and how we're treating ourselves, you know, and how we're looking at ourselves in the mirror. That's a really important one. And just loving ourselves wherever we are in this process.
That's true. So that painting can be a picture of loving oneself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really
Mm-hmm.
can.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you were talking, I was thinking, you're talking about individuals kind of doing like a painting for an individual, but I was thinking, just ideas popping here, if you have an organization or a company or a foundation that has a certain goal or certain message that they want to portray or certain things in their heart, you could even make a painting for that.
That's a great idea. I was just talking to a friend last week who was like, this, I can really visualize this for a couple, you know, as well. So to take it just to two or family, but the couple where they're, he was saying that he left his commitments with his, that he and his wife shared at their wedding. They have them taped to the inside of their kitchen cabinet.
Mhm.
Because whenever they fight, it's often because they're hangry, they're hungry.
Right.
And their job, you know, sugar, blood sugar drops. And so they go in there, and sometimes if they're really angry, they like read those commitments. And I thought that was great, like having some element of, you know, the promises that people make to each other, right?
Mhm.
Or if you're a mom and you're frustrated with your kids and you just can't take it anymore, there's so many moms homeschooling their kids right now, forced to do that. And they're, talk about not having time for themselves. It's like that can remind them to just like, and again, it's also like the looking slightly above at something
Mhm.
also helps you optimistically, but to be more optimistic. But seeing that, it's like reminds them of their higher self, and it reminds of, I can't tell you how many times I would get frustrated when people would say, they're only going to be little for a little bit, they're going to grow up, they're going to get older, it's going to go before you know it. And I'd want to yell at them, like, I know, but that doesn't help me now, it doesn't help me today. The years are short and the days are long when you have really young kids. But it's true, once you just kind of like shift the perspective, you do realize, you look at your children and you cherish them, and you're grateful, or your family, or where you are in this process and on this path, you know, just love wherever you are, because it's a process and it can change, you know. So
Exactly. And I was thinking as you were talking, you think about like a little 4 or 5 year old, and let's say they're doing something mischievous or something they're in trouble. Basically, they've gotten in trouble. But then
yeah.
they turn around and they give you this cute look. They give you the cute look, and you just
Exactly.
can't, you should be upset with them, but you can't be upset with them because they just look so darling.
I know. God created it perfectly that way, you know.
He
So,
did, I was thinking
I mean,
you could do a painting of that, for
yeah,
the moms.
yes, they're the ultimate test and of patience. And believe me, I mean, if you had talked to me, even we probably wouldn't even have had this conversation, because I would be stewing and I was so upset and frustrated. But it's just not, it's just not something that can continue for too long. You know, and if it does, it can lead to disease, it can lead to illness. Um, the other part about the future visioning in a painting is that our one of our gurus that we loved, Nirka, would say that if you don't, that people that commit suicide often, now again, I'm not speaking blanket statements, um, literally can't perceive or visualize their future. anymore or
Mm.
a future for themselves. And so it's like that's shut off. So they're done. And some people get so consumed by their depression, um, that they are like like Walking Dead, like they're not really alive anymore. They might not have killed themselves, but they're not practicing that self-love, and everything is a problem, and it's just this continuous cycle. So yeah, that I'm really glad to be on the other side of it, because it's no joke. It perpetuates, and that's hard to pull yourself out of that cyclone. But once you do, oh, it can be so much better.
Yeah, yeah, because you mentioned earlier that, your hormones were off. So, you've been
Yeah.
doing things to get those back on track. But what has been the response of your, like your daughter? Is she noticing, oh, mommy's much easier to be around?
Yeah, well, I mean, when she has her tantrums now, um, it's how you respond to anything, right? When we're reactive and we like react in the same tone or freak out or yell or scream, it rarely makes things easier. It rarely makes things go back to neutral faster. It exacerbates it, and it gets everyone going. So I don't feel that I'm out of the woods yet with that process of, first of all, patience, because it is an ongoing, let's just be honest, but or the hormones. But so far so good. I mean, a lot of it, I always feel that a lot of it just the thing that it's all distills down to is self-love.
Mhm.
How much are you truly respecting and loving yourself and feeding yourself with love? I did a collection of very kind of risque, sexy pieces called Voyeur. And the whole concept when I started it was how we are fascinated as a society to, watch reality TV or watch movies or get entertained by all of these things, porn. And it's like there's like this belief in somehow that our lives are not entertaining enough. you know
Mhm.
my
Yeah.
my mother just caught my daughter watching, and because she didn't like what she was watching, a video of my daughter watching other people play with babies, with dolls. And I know my mom would think that that's crazy because you play with the dolls,
Mhm.
yourself, as opposed to watching someone else do it. But it's almost like we want to live vicariously through other people, so we don't have to go out there and put ourselves out there in this vulnerable way to meet people, to date people, to love someone, and try to keep a relationship going like till we die, or some concept about that. And because it's hard, it's so much easier to watch the happy endings in a 2-hour movie or something. So where was I going with this? So the Voyeur series was about that. It was about spying. It was about being watched. But it's also, like I said, because we're not fascinated with what's going on within, we're not spending enough time in our brain and all the areas of our brain and in our heart, right? And we're thinking like there's a dialogue, ongoing dialogue, but we're not just breathing and feeling contentment. That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
Not
that's
really.
beautiful the way you put it, because
Thank you.
it's so easy, especially in all our busyness, to just be doing, never really even feeling anything, not even quite being in our bodies. I mean, we're just
Yeah.
we're doing things, but we're not feeling or really experiencing life.
Right, right. Yeah, we're sort of like these, cameras that are like watching everything, and like these my mom calls it a bowling ball, that you're just like moving around, and we're kind of caught up here. And that's why our circulation gets bad. And that's why, we're just not living enough in our body. But it's a practice, I think, and some people do yoga, some people dance. Dancing is a huge form of just sort of taking it down, um, or working out, of course, hiking.
Yes. Do you have any practices, like morning practices or anything that you do every day to just center yourself and get yourself back into your heart?
Yes, I always listen to, I used to float around like on YouTube to different guided meditations. I got really into Dr. Joe Dispenza, and his whole rewired program on Gaia. And I just think it's fascinating. So I went through a period of him. The balancing, hormone balancing program that I'm doing called Be Balanced is, has a relaxation tape, so it's for visualization, and it's super powerful. So that's what I do in the mornings. But there's just so many resources out there with the internet and YouTube and Gaia and all of these places to find guided meditation. And all you have to do is, like I was showing my 96-year-old grandmother, just guided meditation for anxiety. She was
Mhm.
having anxiety for COVID. Guided meditation for depression or fear or sleep, all of these things. So I highly
Mhm.
recommend just using things for
Yeah.
that.
So, how important are our words, like the words we talk to ourselves with?
Mm, they, words, I mean, this might sound silly maybe to people, but words do have a vibration, right? I mean, hearing mean words being told to you, we know, we get all prickly, we get scared, we're hurt. And yet we say the same things to ourselves, either because we've taken it enough from other people or we just don't feel worthy or good enough. So it's super important. So, like, I did a hypnosis and we did self love, self care, and I visualize a certain color when I say it. And it just takes me right back to that, to that moment. Um, like, it's super important because I went through a period where I was so passionate about my business and promoting art and artists that I was rushing around and, sending as many things as I could and making sure that I posted every day and just never, and getting so, like, frustrated. And even my husband said, this is your passion. You should be enjoying this.
Yes.
Like, why are you so stressed out about it? And I was like, because it's just not working and I want to see it. And I know it would work. And I kept feeling like I was on the edge of something. And if I just reached out and promoted it one more day or one more person. And so it was all this hustle energy, which is admirable when people hustle and really make that effort. But I was listening to a lot of another um, place I go to for that I listen to when I'm painting specifically is law of attraction type, words. And Abraham and Esther Hicks are big for me. I love Lazarus as well. Um, so thinking about that, how to get in the vortex and literally how to sit back and receive a little better. So it starts with daily, regular practice of gratitude throughout the day, talking about what you're grateful for. I mean, and it can start with just like the leaves turning colors right now, or the food that I'm eating. I mean, of course, like what perfect thing to be grateful for. This water, this running water, this clean running water that's like I can turn on and off. So anyway, you get the idea, but it's definitely just all about that.
When you were talking and you were saying how said you just have to post one more thing and you were
Yeah.
just pushing, I learned this from a friend of mine. Stop pushing.
Yeah.
Just start allowing.
You're
Because
pushing it
the more
away.
we push, the harder it gets. You ever notice that? If you push on something, it gets harder and harder. But if
Yes.
you just allow it to move, it just flows.
And the secret about, visualizing, that's why I was so happy to be on your podcast and your show, because it's like if we visualize it having already happened and what that feels like in our body, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about this a lot too. And of course, Abraham, Mr. Hicks, all about this. But as if it's already happened. So it isn't this need and desire out there, you know, but and that's why it goes so hand in hand with painting, because that's markings on a canvas, or that's color, and you're visualizing it and you're seeing it. And that's why this new level of my mission is so profound for me, and I hope for other people. But yeah, I'm getting great response for it, you know, and what's cool about it is that it's attracting people into my life that I really want to talk to. I'm
Mhm.
not just out there, you know, waiting for someone to like a piece that I've already created. I'm attracting those souls that get this, that are like resonate with this. And so I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm sure now that we've been speaking about this, that there are people who would really love to have a piece made specifically for them that has their future ideal life and full of memories that
And
make them feel
vacation.
good.
Yeah,
So,
vacations that they want to go on.
yes. So, how do people get a hold of you? Where do they find you? They find you on social media? Do you have a website?
Well, my email is the Camille at decamille.com, Camille at de Camille. And my gallery site is Cool Art House. Cool Art House. Decamille.com will also take you there. But Cool Art House, and I have lots of different artists that I represent. Let's see, I'm on Instagram, of course, Cool Art House. On Facebook, Cool Art House curated de Camille. So Cool Art House will
Right,
take you
just that's easy. Just look for Cool Art House
there.
and
Yeah.
set up a time with Camille and have a
And
conversation.
we'll meet on the computer. We'll meet face to face, and it's supposed to be completely pleasurable, you know, and there might be happy tears. That's okay. And bittersweet tears. That's all emotion. I don't, you know, discriminate on emotion or something. Like it's all good. And it's fun when the timing is right and it just gels and magic happens. It's really cool.
Beautiful. So just changing directions, asking you a personal question. So at this point in your life, what gives you the most happiness and fulfillment?
Um, Definitely enjoying being a mom more than I had been. I was a mom, I was a complaining mom a lot of the times, just like overwhelmed, always felt like I was behind the eight ball. So I'm enjoying my home life more. I love that my children do see me as an artist mom who has something else, another identity besides wife and mom, you know, and slash slave. Moms are slaves to their kids. Um, but that they see this and that inspires them to follow their passion, because being an artist is a hard road. I mean, I don't believe in the scarcity model of the starving artist. It's just not, I come from a place of abundance. And so I don't think of myself that way. But to sell art is not like selling anything else. It just isn't. And then add to that it's COVID and that you can't really have shows. I've had many one woman shows and group shows in LA and all of that. And then we moved to this new city, and you know, it was hard to kind of get going. So but the thing is about this world is when you're creative, you have to be creative. You have to be flexible. You have to roll with it. And so there is a part of me that's like grateful for the hardest times of my life recently and these harder times, not grateful for COVID, but grateful that, you know, I've been able to be, you know, groove into or move into a better place than I had been before COVID. And that's that I'm very be for and very grateful for, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and
Yeah,
for
this was
sharing
fun.
all your unique ideas and just heartfelt art. I mean, this is so unique and special. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's been really nice to be here. And I, talking about it out loud and sharing it, it just talking about it keeps bubbling it up inside of me and reminding me that, again, that voice of like, you're on your path. This is right. This feels good. And like, let's keep going with more of that. So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. So I have one last question before we finish.
Sure. Yeah.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
My best advice is become your own best friend. Figure out what it is that needs more loving. I mean, none of us had perfect parents, or perfect situations. And we can always stay mad and hold grudges and point fingers and be upset at presidents or politics or weather or traffic, all of these things. And it's just like none of that matters,
Mhm.
like ultimately. And I'm not perfect. I complain from time to time now still, but you catch yourself once you get over the hump of the negativity. It's like you perpetuate the positive because you keep catching yourself. And so by like becoming friends with my little child, literally I would see my daughter freaking out at me and see myself in her, right?
Mhm.
So I had to sort of heal and take better care of the inner girl and therefore myself, and therefore I'm eating better, I'm chewing slower, I'm not rushing around, I'm not stressing. It's just all of these layers and of the petals and the onion that are realizing that it's not a joke that stress is like the worst thing out there for you.
Mhm.
And yet we think that ambition and stress is what's going to get us ahead. And it just isn't. Loving ourselves and who we're around is love the ones you're with.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Camille.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
So great being here. See you
thank you.
later.
All right. Talk to you again soon.